Hey, what's up, guys? So today I wanted to talk about another Bronze Era OG by the name of John Maxick. So Maxick was known for his system of muscle control. The thing that impresses me the most about John Maxick was the fact that he was actually sickly as an infant. So he was born on June 28, 1882. He was actually born to parents who were very diminutive in stature, and he was an only child. Despite his parents' unremitting care and the constant attention that they gave to him, he still was very sickly and just in very poor health, and he actually contracted multiple congenital diseases, and he was expected to die. The family physician required a waiver to be signed upon giving him the polio vaccine that if he died he wouldn't be held liable for giving them the vaccination because he was such in poor shape. Despite that, Maxick kept, living, was strong enough to carry on into adolescence. But even by the time he was about 7 years old, he had contracted rickets, and that actually left him with structural anomalies with his skeleton into his adult years. Even after he became famed for his system of muscle control, he still had abnormalities that didn't keep him from becoming a very strong man. The way fitness really got started off with Maxick, for a child, he was very observant. Once he was able to actually go to school and wasn't bedridden anymore, he got to see other boys for the first time. He realized just how in poor condition he was. He saw these other healthy, exuberant, radiant children running around, these comrades of his schoolmates, just having all kinds of fun and just being able to enjoy life. And he realized just how much of a pitiful state he was in. Actually, became a source of wonderment, envy, and then humiliation for Maxick. It was from there that he first started to purpose towards maybe trying to improve his health. So rather than just despairing about it, John Maxick was actually of the faculty of just being observant, and he actually started trying to mimic their diet. Asked his parents to do exercises. They told him, "No, you can't do that. A sickly child like you should only think about, sleeping and just recovering, and put all even gentle exercise. Don't even think about doing that." Despite that, he was pretty stubborn. He really felt like they were wrong. He respected his parents, and he probably would have given up if it hadn't have been for an event that was very momentous and ended up changing the course of his life, which was a circus came to town. And the one event that he was particularly interested in was the strongman event. He actually scrounged up enough money selling his prized possessions to his schoolmates. The reason he did that, he begged his parents to go to this circus, and they said no. He was just stubborn. He had a very strong will and desire, and that's kind of the thing I want to really focus on about John Maxick, not just because the amazing physique that he has and just how strong he was, but really it was like the power of his will and of the human spirit. And that's really the thing I want to focus on today. Maxick managed to scrounge up enough money and get a ticket to this show. The one event he really wanted to see was the strongman event, the Hercules. He was impressed by the feats of strength that he saw, but also just by the sheer muscular development of the man. It was a paradigm shift for him, and from then on, he purposed that he was going to train with or without his parents' permission. And when he got home, he had actually found a stone that he had fashioned to a dumbbell. It was conveniently shaped, and he shaped it a little bit more, and he started trying to train with a dumbbell. His excitement ended up kind of overriding his discretion. His father had found it, and he ended up smashing it to pieces. He had to kind of go back to the drawing board, and then he remembered as a child being bedridden, he would stretch and kind of contract his muscles was helpful for him. So he started incorporating these exercises where in the mornings and in the evenings in the seclusion of his bedroom, he would focus on contracting his muscles, particularly with biceps and tricep. At this point, he wasn't really incorporating principles of relaxation yet, just contraction. So his health improved and he got stronger, and eventually he got to the point where by the time he was 14, he could actually match and better kids his age at tests of strength. He was actually able to carry a sack of flour farther than any other man in the town. And because of the fame and the notoriety that created for Maxick, he was actually allowed to join a local gym that had opened up in his town, this gymnasium. Even though the requirement for the age was 18, him being 14, he was allowed to be a passive member. So he wasn't allowed to handle the heavy weights, but he was thankful to just be able to get in there and handle the light weights. So Maxick started training with his light weights, and he was getting results up to a point, but then he started to notice that he was really just tiring himself out and doing a lot of work, but he wasn't what he said was aiding his muscles in nourishment. He wasn't increasing the strength. He got back to thinking about what he had been doing before, and he reverted back to his muscle control exercises. This time he really started trying to contract his muscles, and he noticed that he improved his strength, but even after that, with enough time, he started to hit a plateau, and he wondered why this was. At the time, he wasn't focusing on relaxing the muscle, and the antagonist muscles like the triceps, if you flex your whole arm, the triceps are acting against your biceps, whereas if you can keep the triceps relaxed, and you focus on contracting the biceps as hard as you can, you get a much stronger contraction. So he not only started doing his muscle control exercises, but he started incorporating that with his light dumbbell training, and his strength really started significantly improved. And as he got older, ended up apprenticing under an engineer, and he started to observe tradesmen, and he wondered why stonemasons and these other workers of the trades, I mean, they had some development of their muscles, but he noticed that the forearms and the shoulders and stuff like didn't look bad with these tradesmen, these stonemasons, but they weren't completely jacked and huge. And he came to observe that they weren't focusing on contracting those muscles. They were necessarily focusing on the course of the work, on, shaping the stone and cutting stone. They weren't thinking about how hard they're going to contract their muscles. They were just trying to control a chisel with a hammer and a mallet. That was something else he ended up having an epiphany on. So he incorporated that observation into his muscle control training and really started to focus on keeping other muscle groups relaxed that opposed the target muscle group that he was trying to flex. And he said that this was not just simply work, but it was also nourishment, that this would actually aid in the development and strengthening of the muscle. One of the desiderata and fascinating things about John Maxick's system is that he said that you should be able to visualize the muscles that you're using. So if you're doing a bicep curl, that you should try to focus on also simultaneously keeping the triceps relaxed, because if your antagonist muscles in this exercise, which would be the triceps when performing the bicep curl, are working against your biceps, you're not going to be able to get as full of a contraction, which to me makes sense. It's like you're essentially resisting yourself with your opposing muscle group. So if you have enough muscle control to where you can contract one muscle group while simultaneously relaxing the other, you get a fuller contraction. Maxick had said that he was able to outlift men at their own pet lifts using a one-armed variation where they were doing it with two arms, because he was able to focus on the muscles that he was training, that he got a better training effect from it. And this is a guy from the Bronze Era, and I know people think that Bronze Era methods are gimmicky, but I think if you were to just, as a modern lifter with all the advantages and information that you have at your disposal nowadays, people who give you really good programming insights, I think if you were to be able to parallel process and incorporate principles like muscle control, and if you really start to think about what you're doing and not just doing it out of rote and just performing a movement mindlessly, if you can get to a point where you can control your muscles so well when performing a mechanical exercise, like let's say a bench press or a bicep curl, where you can keep the antagonist muscles relaxed and contract the working muscles as hard as you can, I definitely think there's a benefit to that. And it makes sense to me. John Maxick didn't say that with muscle control alone that you would be able to build great strength. I'm not telling anybody here that muscle control alone will make you particularly strong or give you a ridiculous physique like his. He used muscle control in tandem with traditional lifts like bent presses and overhead presses and bench press and squats. This was very supplementary and in tandem with mechanical exercise that he did. I don't think he would have been as much of a legend as he was if he had only done muscle control. The thing that fascinates me the most about him is that he could have easily just had given up on life and would have ended up dying. And he even had to go against his parents' urging, even though they were like doing it out of love and care for him, telling him not to stress himself, that he's going to hurt himself and have a premature death, which I think that would have ended up being the case if he had followed their advice. He went from being such a sickly, ready-to-die child to being, in his day, what would have been considered like the epitome of health, and became an icon. So I just wanted to share that. I think that's particularly fascinating about John Maxick. I do want to do another video on him soon, kind of covering his system a little bit. But yeah, until then, that's all I got for now. I hope y'all have a good weekend, and I'll see y'all again soon.